Well, hey, it is Resurrection Day. We are here for our Sunday live at 5, which happens to be happening at 6:30, but we're here. We're here live at 5, but it's today live at 6:30. And you're welcome to come on in. I'm going to give time for all the platforms to go ahead and let the people know that we're here, that we're on, that we're ready, that we're getting ready to start. I want everybody to be notified. All right. So it's Resurrection Day today. I sure hope that you all went and enjoyed a church service somewhere today or yesterday. I know at my church we had services yesterday and today, so that that way they could stretch out the people, because you have a lot of people coming on Easter Sunday, and I want to say they might have ran about 14 services total. When I say 14, we've got, our church has several campuses, so I believe they ran services all over the campuses. I know my particular church location had 2 services yesterday, and I want to say 5 today, right? Long day it was. I was out of town, so I didn't go to any of those, but I did get to watch it online this morning, which I thought was good. So hopefully you all went in person, right? And probably lots of you too now may be spending time with your families, which is always a good thing to do. Anytime you get to spend time with your families is a yes bueno. I actually got to see my dad today because I was down where he lives. So I got to roll through and put my hands on him, get a good hug, and tell my dad I loved him, and tell my stepmom I love her too, and come on back up the road. So the road wasn't too crowded today, probably because we were traveling at like 1, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. We're trying to get home. But I know this evening, the highways and the byways are going to be stuffed. I know they're going to be chock full of people coming back home. Not only that, Smokey going to probably be out there. Smokey Joe gonna be out there pulling people right over to the side, just pull over this way. So be careful. If you're not where you're gonna be and you're gonna be driving and on a highway or whatever this evening, please be prepared to face Mr. State Trooper. We don't want to see those blue lights. My husband always says stuff like protect our rate, because our insurance rate is pretty decent. Insurance is, I won't jump on my soapbox about insurance, about car insurance, but just suffice it to say our rate is a pretty good, we pay a pretty decent little, not too bad premium. And so he's always talking about protecting our rate. So he's like, don't be speeding, we're protecting our rate. Let me make sure I got this on the right Yep, it's on the right one. Make sure I was getting full power out of my internets. Getting full power out of my internet. It's about 6:25. I'm trying to give a little more minutes for everybody to come on in here. I know I said we were going to do it at 5, which I totally was, but I wasn't home at 5. And then I thought I'd do it at 7, but we never really got to edit the start time to 7. So I figured once I was available, I would go ahead and just get started. So that's what we're doing. We're just getting started. Okay, we're just going to go ahead and get started. Let's look at, while we're early in this, let's go ahead and look at, do I want to share this screen? Do I want to share this one? I do want to share this one. Okay. Let's look at what happened last week. As they say, it's way last one day. Let's see what happened way last week. Okay, so I want us to look at, we of course can look at SPX first. Let me change the view of this so if we can get as much screen as possible. Okay, this is SPX last week. Do you all see this trend? This is not last week. This is SPX from February of, I want to say this is 2023. Yep, 2023. I think we're looking at here. Yep, 2023. All right. See how this, we've had a upwards ride. Yes, we have. Well, let's go look at what the week did. This is what the chart SPX has been looking like over the past, all the weeks, right? These are weekly charts, which means every candle has a week's worth of data inside of it. Every candle is 1 week worth of data. So last week, we opened the week at 52.19. We had a high of 52.64, low of 52.03, and we closed at 52.54. This is for the week. Still up, up, and away. Yes, we've definitely been bullish for lots of weeks, right? We started back really October, and we've been literally bullish ever since. We've had a few pauses along the way, but these have just been, we pausing for a week, and then we're going on about our way the rest of the weeks, right? Since October, we've been going up, up, and away. This is the daily chart now, which means every candle here is 1 day worth of data. Every candle is 1 day worth of data. We did have, this was last Friday, this was Monday. Had a gap down last Monday, went a little lower on Tuesday. Then we came back up to fill the gap that would have been between Friday and Monday. Between Tuesday and Wednesday, that gap got filled. And then Thursday, we also had a green day. Now, last week was a short week because of the holiday, because a Good Friday was this past Friday. So we had a holiday there. Holiday weeks, you see, kind of stayed right here in between. I won't say in the zone, but you could call it a zone, because between this it dropped, boom, boom, back up, and stayed right in this consolidationary period, right? So this was last week. We had 2 down days, two red days, 2 green days down, and this one here was more of a doji day, which means it didn't really do anything on Monday. Tuesday we had a little more of a drop going in, and then Wednesday and Thursday. Sorry, I keep wanting to count Friday, but Friday wasn't a trading day. That was what happened last week. But we did have some key pieces of information that popped in last week. This is the Apple chart for last week. Apple's been kind of on a downward ride here for a minute. If you look here at all the trend line that Apple is rolling with, this trend here, Apple's on a downwards trend. And I believe they got some bad news last week, something about Biden was going to be suing them or something for an antitrust, something to do with that last week. But then they also had a good news day. I think they said they were putting out some new product back on Wednesday that popped out. This was over here. That's why you got this pop here last Wednesday. But if you look at the overall trend of what's going on with Apple, it has not been favorable. You start a trend line up here, and you want to touch at least 2 or 3 points along the way, and this really gives us our trend line right here is what we have going. We are coming into, we were into a support area, which was this past Tuesday, and then it kind of bounced here, which was support from here, and went back up a bit. But we're still, it's not looking like this is a higher low, so it might be forming. I'm going to put us a little bitty trend line right here. We do have a little bit of a rise happening in the higher lows, but it's very faint, very, very faint happening right along there. Now let's look real quick and see what NVIDIA had going. Oh, I guess we should type in the right thing, NVDA. Seems like the market for a long time would move along with Apple. And it still does, I believe, but NVIDIA seems to be quickly taking over what the market will do when. It seems to be quickly taking over. However NVIDIA is going to run seems to be how we're going to run. So we had this past week a little bit of a higher high. Let me put a little bitty trend line on here because it's not really doing a whole lot of high movement either. But it's a higher high at this point. And we have the trend coming along the bottom. Well, we can see that it's trending upwards. That part is not hard to ascertain. I'm going to go ahead and put it from here. There's so many ways you can put trend lines on, right? You can pick wherever short-term, long-term trend. I could start it here and run a line up. Again, all trend lines are basically what is the trend based on where you want to start looking, right? Or I can do here and say, okay, we're going from here to here. This is also a trend line coming up faster than the high is going. It's not rising. This has been more, if you look here, it's really been kind of consolidating for a little bit of a minute right in here. All of this has just been in between those two zones. between 857. You could even go up to 869 and 951. So that's about 100 points, though. I mean, that's not like a small consolidation area, but it's 100 points. It's been consolidating within this little zone since, I guess we really could start here at, 11th of March. Probably could go even back a few days, the week before that, but it's been kind of in this zone. And we're looking to see if it's going to break out. It hasn't really been able to break out of this 960. It didn't go up past 960. Just keep in mind, anytime you're looking at charts and charting, that when the stocks get to what's called psychological numbers, like the round numbers, 900, 910, 950, those zero numbers, those psychological numbers, it can sometimes be hard to bump over into the next thing. Like it took us a long time to get into 5,000 on SPX. Then once we got into 5,000, it got slowed down a bit at 5,100. Then it stuttered a bit at 5,200. Now we're at 5,250. So now we'll see what happens as we go. But those psychological numbers do seem to slow things down. Looks like there's some other bad news on the horizon for Tesla. I had a friend of mine who used to always call it Tesla, and he was so funny. I would correct him, but it didn't matter. Didn't matter that I corrected him. He would still call it Tesla. But this is what's going on with Tesla. It had a bit, let me make it a little bit bigger so everybody who's looking on their phone will be able to see comfortably. And I saw something, or I read something, I believe, in the group, one of the groups I'm in, that talked about they had some other bad news. Don't you bring me no bad news. Looking at this, it does seem to have an upward moving trend from this low point of 162, but it's got a few gaps in here that it needs to manage its way through. I'm going to put it here because at this point, I guess I could start the gap up here where it originally gapped up, which would have been on the 25th of March. This candle here filled up some of the gap, went down to about the 50% mark, but all of it hasn't been filled. There is still gap, and there's another one here. Poor Tesla, just gaps on top of gaps also provide interesting situations. Gaps on top of gaps provide interesting situations. I'm going to bring this one down so that way we really are at what's left of the gap, right? And this gap goes from 172.64 all the way up to 175.87. There are some people who trade gaps as their sole like strategy. They look for gaps and they trade them. So there's a whole method to the madness. X-Link Don, this stock is Tesla. This stock is Tesla. I did look at NVIDIA. NVIDIA was before this one. So this was NVIDIA before this one, right? What currently is on my screen is Tesla. Thank you, T. Gatlin. Appreciate you for helping out. All right. This is what all has happened last week. This is what happened last week. Oh, I meant to go and look at our trades from last week to see what kind of success we had. Let's look and see what's coming up this coming week. Let's look at I'm going to look at what's coming up this coming week. I'm going to look at earnings, which is not a whole lot left on earnings. I'm going to also look at our trades ideas, and then we'll do some charting, right? We'll do some charting. And then I want to share some news with you. I want to share some news. Here we are. This is our week. What's coming up? We've got red folders every day of the week. But it's not like we don't have Powell speaking. Powell spoke on Friday, though. So we may have some residuals from his conversation on Friday that will show up in the market tomorrow when it opens up. So definitely expect some of that. A lot of times the market doesn't digest his news until the next day anyway. It's fully digested the next day. Okay. I can look at Apple again because I looked at Apple. That was the first one I looked at. I like how it's holding the 168, 170 support. Yeah, we'll go back to it again. Okay, so on Monday, we've got 9:45. We've got the final manufacturing PMI, and then we've got ISM manufacturing PMI, and that's a red folder at 10 o'clock on Monday. Construction spending month over month. That's, of course, important because we People spend money on construction. That's where the big money gets spent. Tuesday, we've got Jolt's job openings. That's our red folder at 10 o'clock in the morning. We've got some FOMC member people speaking, FOMC members speaking at 12 or 1:30, 12 and 1:30. Total vehicle sales. Listen, there's a whole lot happening in the vehicle space that's not being discussed. All right. There's a lot happening in that vehicle space. People are not out spending 30 and 40K on cars. And what's not being discussed is how many people are delinquent on their car payments right now, because the car thing is a whole situation, right? That's not getting discussed here. But if you do a bit of research, you'll find out the whole car buying, car financing situation it's got some heat on it. Okay, it's got some heat on it. Wednesday, OPEC meetings, 5:15 a.m. Of course, we won't be up at the market. Well, those who trade futures may be up looking and see what's going on with that. 8:15, we've got non-farm employment change, final services PMI at 9:45. ISM services PMI at 10. Crude oil inventory up. I said Powell wasn't speaking, but he is on Wednesday. I looked at this beforehand, and I definitely overlooked that he's going to speak on Wednesday at 12:10. Let's see where he's speaking. Let's see what's going on. He's speaking at the Stanford Business, Government, and Society Forum. Okay. Why do we care? Of course, as he's the head of the central bank, and when stuff gets said, people try to decipher. Volatility is often experienced during his speeches. We do know that also. Okay. So he's going to speak at the Stanford Business, Government, and Society Forum on Wednesday at 12:10. They always put a red folder with him because of the volatility that comes about when he's saying whatever, right? Thursday, we've got challenger job cuts. Unemployment claims are popping up again. I think we were up a little bit in unemployment last week as far as the claims went. Another 2,000, I think, was what we had over the previous week. FOMC member Barkin and Mester are going to speak on Thursday afternoon. And then on Friday, we've got some 8:30 in the morning stuff, unemployment rate, employment change, hourly earnings month over month. FOMC member Barkin is speaking, and we've got consumer credit month over month. So we do have a red folder every day of the week. Every day of the week. What I'm telling you always is to trade what you see. Every day of the week, trade what you see. You do your charting, you do your looking, and you trade what you see. All right, trade what you see. Bill says, I'm tempted to jump on the FCX trade this week. I got nuked on the call side of a FCX iron condor in the last few weeks, though. So now, Bill, what we've done on this next, when I get to that slide, you'll see that I've only got put credit spreads going this week because we're up in, no man's land at the top. Not saying that there aren't zones there, but we definitely, if you're going to do call credit spreads, you want to do them toward maybe the end of the week, or unless you're very sure something has hit a good strong resistance and it's coming back down, and you got yourself a planned exit. Okay. Make sure that you do that. Let's look and see what our earnings are this week. See how light. Usually our earnings chart has been loaded down. We've got Nanox, Sigma, Ondas, Terran Orbital, Decision Point, Jaguar Health, Venus Concept, Escalade Incorporated, and MAC. Or MOC. I get like MOC 10. PVH is Monday after close. Pioneer, Power Solutions, Microvast, Zomedica, Omeros, Duos Tech, New York City REIT. A REIT is popping up for earnings this week. And we haven't talked much about REITs, but I am a fan of REITs. And I think this is Vistra. I like REITs because it allows you to get in on real estate without owning any doors and not worrying about any toilets, right? That's one of the reasons I like REITs. It's good for dividends. And there's some of them that pay monthly. Listen, you got money just sitting somewhere parked, and it's not doing anything for you, you might want to park it over in a REIT. Okay, I'm not giving any investment advice. Please understand that I'm not an investment advisor. I'm just saying that if you're going to get dividends on something monthly, if you're not trading with some amount of your money and it's not bought things, let it maybe consider letting it be sitting in a REIT, and you can be getting dividends off of real estate while it just sits there, right? It's something that's paying monthly. And REITs aren't generally traded for growth. You don't trade REIT. They're not really traded, right? You don't trade REITs. Like usually things you trade. You might trade Apple. You might trade Nvidia. You might trade some things that you know are going to go. They're going to have a pop. They're going to this. Of course, you still should own shares of some of these things too. But you may be just benefiting from those. If you're looking at REITs, though, REITs are kind of a nice place to pull in dividend money. It's not necessarily going to do a bunch of fast growing. They're supposed they have to by law give away like 90% of their money needs to go back to their shareholders. And those are the kinds of things that, if you got money just sitting around, park it in a monthly REIT, let it make you some money every month. All right. Tuesday, we're going to have paychecks before open. Dave and Buster's is after close, and Cal, somebody calm. This is somebody foods, maybe Cal Maine Foods. It says maybe California, Maine. I think that says Cal. Okay, Wednesday morning before the open, we've got Acuity brands. Acuity, Ice Cure, Bio MX. After market close is BlackBerry. I really thought BlackBerry was going to be able to really do better and be around. We used BlackBerries like they were apples back in the day. It goes to show you how a business model, if not rolled out properly, can have you I won't say on the back burner, but have you not been in the mainstream, because BlackBerries were very secure phones. Like I think the president even used a BlackBerry because it was the most secure of the phones. But of course they're still around. Levi's is here. Simulations Plus, Sportsman's Warehouse, and RGP is Wednesday after close. Thursday we've got Lamb Weston, Conagra, CAG, Simply Good, Angiodynamics, Lindsay, RPM, Coal Plant, and Radius Recycling. Thursday after close looks like Cruise or Acura. And then Friday before the open, we've got Berna and Greenbrier companies. All right. We don't have a lot on the earnings front. So the good thing, that could be a good and a bad. It's a good thing if you don't have earnings stuff on the horizon, because then you may not have to worry about some wild movements in some of the ETFs and other places, because you don't have to worry some high impact earnings aren't happening. But if you're an earnings trader, which there are people who are earnings traders who trade, have strategies that they use to trade primarily earnings, there won't be as much to pick from this week. All right. Levi's, Dave and Buster, I guess maybe Paychecks. Those are the names I recognize. But some of these other buddies, the little bitties have room to run. They need a catalyst. If you get a catalyst, they can go on about their way. Okay. Let's look at our list of trades for the week. The list of trades for the week. So what we're doing as a collective, and anybody who has done PeakBot with me, PeakBot, y'all remember PeakBot? I did several videos on PeakBot as an automated trading solution for sellers, right? They do cash secure puts, or they call it the wheel. Yep, cash secure puts called the wheel. They also have iron condors on SPY and Triple Q. There's also something new that PeakBot has, and it is when you're doing these spreads, if you're breached and you're going to be assigned, the bot will actually roll your trade forward, so you will not be assigned. And this all happens automated. Okay, I got I turned my camera off. I want to make sure that that this is clear here, that this all happens automated. Okay, all you pick is the stock. You pick the stocks you like, and you got this whole long list of here. I used the watch list from PeakBot. I didn't pick their strikes, but I did pick these stocks. And they've got these are all off the bullish list. They're the bot checks to see if they're bullish. These are all off the bullish list. And the ones on the left are lower risk. The ones on the right are moderate risk. The watch list also has like high risk and higher risk. We stay with the lower and the moderate, because there's no reason to be risking stuff if you don't have to. If you want to get more money out of something, because people usually go with higher risk because they want higher premiums. If you want to get more money, what you do is leverage more capital and just do more contracts of the safer or the lower risk things. Maybe you say, okay, I like JD and I can make the 10% or whatever I'm looking to make, because I always talk about people making 10%. And then you maybe say, okay, this is a safer place. I like JD. I like Amazon. I like Dow. I like Devin or Devon. Not sure how it's pronounced. But if you say, I want to make more of the money, then you pick these and you just do multiple contracts. Pick one that you like, that you feel is safe, and then do multiple contracts. Okay, what I want y'all to do while I'm talking is go ahead and put some of these in the comments, so that way we can see which ones we want to chart. I will definitely include FCX, and I believe Apple's not on this list, but I will swing back around to Apple. Excellent, Don. I will, or Don, you're probably Don. I'll swing back around to that. But what else do we see on here that that we might want to trade? HPQ showed up this week. It hadn't been on this list. Some of these have been on the list. BP, of course, is in the oil space. Verizon. Devin, I want to say Devin is in the, nope, I want to go there next. I want to say Devin is in that semiconductor space. Let me go look real quick. We can add it to our list if we want to take a look at it. It's energy. Oh, Devin is energy. Sure. Disney. Okay, we got Disney. We're going to do Apple. We can look at Devon. Some proxy shenanigans for Disney this week. Yeah, Disney, I think they settled some case at the end of the week last week. They settled a case. So that might have caused some issues there. We got Uber on the list. We got an airline or two. Delta Airlines, United Airlines are both on the list. We've got a few banks on the list. Wells Fargo, Morgan Stanley, JD, not JD. I think JD, no, JD. Is JD a bank? I know Bank of America is. We got that. Oxy is here. BP, those are oil fuel. TJ Maxx is here. Oh, RCL, Royal Caribbean. Semiconductors, we've got TSM. All righty. While you're hanging out with me, go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell and hit the thumbs up. Let the world know that you're watching. Hit the thumbs up so the world will know I'm watching. I'm watching Arlissa. So y'all come watch too. Hit the thumb up. Boom, boom, boom. So that way people will know we're here. We're over here. There we go. Looking for my cursor. Okay, we came up with, I'm going to go to Disney first. Let me share my screen. Add to the stage. There we go. Let's do Disney. Oh, we're already on Devon. Let's just stay with this. Devon Energy Corporation. I'm going to go to the weekly chart first. Let's look at the weekly chart. Now, Devon has been on a bit of an upward ride since, I might want to, because so many things will show up. I don't like to get people confused. Mainly me. There we go. Don't want to get me confused. Ultimate moving average. Yep. And the EMAs. The EMAs can stay on. I don't know where my phone is. My son was calling. Okay. So this is a weekly chart. Again, every data point here is a week's worth of data. Right? Let me send him a quick message so that way he knows I'm otherwise occupied. Occupado. My computer's moving very slow. He called again. No. Ay. Come on. There we go. Okay. Looking at the 22nd of January, this was the week of that. So we've had a nice little green run here. Let's see what we have as far as what's in the past. What's our past information? Okay, I do see. Let me get a horizontal line. I do see some resistance up in this area. We had last week we looked at this and we said a call credit spread above 51 could potentially work. Who did Devin? Who did Devin? Anybody trade Devin last week? Or Devon? Looks like we've got a support now because the price is up above it a little bit, but it still could come on back down in here. Okay. That's what I see so far. This is the weekly chart, though. Let me take these. I'm going to take these off for now to see what it looks like on the daily chart. We've got some support underneath here. Weekly chart. Weekly zones are going to be stronger than the daily zones. There's actually something happening in here too. And once I change to the daily chart, some of these areas will show up. But when you're on the weekly chart, you can kind of see a few different things here. Right? Definitely on an uptrend at this point, not really taking much of a break. So it hasn't really paused, not on the weekly charts. Doesn't mean that it hasn't paused on some of these dailies and taken a break. But you see some reds here. It means it, kind of took a minute. Give me a breather, right? If we're looking on the daily support, we're right in here, which is about 48.51. There's a gap between Wednesday and Thursday, though. Let's put that onto let's fill that in. We got a little bit of a gap, and gaps like to be filled. Can't always tell when they're going to be filled, but that's a buyer's gap, which means there's buyers hanging out inside of here. Gaps like to be filled. Okay, we got a little bit of a support right there as well at 47.45. We're on a nice uptrend. I'm trying to see where is there some resistance. Here would be some back in October. There was some resistance here, and that's just above where we currently are. Right now, the wick goes up as high as 50.88. It's a little bit of room, but you see, there was a lot of selling pressure here. The wick is tall, long wick, but we got kind of just a little bit above a doji here. So there was good selling pressure there. I'm still going to stick with, if you are doing Devin, let's see. What do we have for our numbers? What did we have for our numbers for Devin? Head to the stage. Devin, we have 48.5, 49. 49 is our support area. 49 is what is the strike I suggested. But I always want you to do two things. First thing I want you to do is, if you decide you like a stock, whether you watch this, watch this chart or whatever, and you like the stock, you think I kind of think I want to trade that, right? Make sure you're charting, you do your looking and charting, and your charting agrees. And then you want to wait till the market is open. Give it about 30, 45 minutes to make sure it's doing what you think it should be doing. And you want to make sure that you confirm the strike you like. I put 49 on here based on what I saw, what I'm seeing right now, right? But if the market, let's say on Monday, Devin opens up and it opens with, there's a gap down or something, or it fills this gap real quick, 49, you might be able to go down to 48.5, right? So you want to, in the moment, you want to go with picking your strike. You don't want to automatically say, or let's just say at 49, so I'm going with 49, and the price breezed down 49 at market open. That's not what we want to do, right? I want you to look at it when it's when the market opens. So that way you can see what is it doing. If 49 is still great, then go. It might run up some more, and you might decide 49.5 is good. But you want to recheck your strikes on Monday or whatever day you're getting in. If it's not Monday, if it's Tuesday, whatever day. I'm a fan of, Monday, Tuesday, sometimes even Wednesday. I like Wednesday credit spreads because then you got only 2 days left and you got good theta decay. The premiums sometimes aren't as nice on Wednesday, but you can, definitely get in on Wednesdays. Remember, as sellers trade, theta decay is our friend. Theta decay is our friend when we're selling. Yes and yes. Okay, that's what we do. Okay, so what I gave us was 48.549 as the strike to look at, and I think that is still a good one. You might want to get, some people may be a little more conservative, nothing wrong with that. You may want to get below the 48.5 as your strike, seeing that there's some support here, but there's also support at the bottom of this gap. This is 49.5. There's also going to be support at the bottom of this buyer's gap. So keep that in mind. All righty. All righty. That was Devin. Let's move to Uber. If you got any other ones you think we should look at, go ahead and put them in the comments. Looks like Uber's been consolidating for a minute. Look at all this, all these weeks. This is back to the middle of February, and it's the end of March. The end of March. It's been in here. Not saying it won't break out. I'm definitely not saying that. Let's put us no, I don't want that line. Let's put us a trend line on here. We can start here. You can actually trend line from any of these spots and see that we're on an upward trend as far as this bottom goes, but we're also hitting this resistance at the top, and it's not going past there. Okay. All right. I got you for Amazon. Climbing. It may hit this boom and then bust on out. But at this point, keep that in mind that it's not been able to shake across that 81. It's not been able to jump across 81 yet. Even these last few times it touched it here, it still is it still wasn't able to push through. Right? What do we have for our Uber strike? Our Uber strikes, we have 74, 75. So 75 is the support area. 75, we got a big old gap here that still has yet to be filled. Now, the bottom of this gap is 68. So a couple things here. If you were going with 75, right? If you were going with 75 as your strike, yet you saw it start coming into this gap, you might want to consider, as my friend would say, you might want to leave it, right? Because if it gets into this gap, it could very well continue on through it. But now looking here, let me stretch it out a little bit so everybody can see what's going on. I learned this from my buddy TJ, didn't know nothing about using this Fibonacci for gaps. But it can come in 25%, 50% level, 75, suchy. This is the gap back from February 13th and 14th, the gap between there. And it has not, it came in here a little bit down to almost a 25% mark, but it hasn't come back into this gap again. So these levels, these 25, 50, 75 are going to provide support to inside this gap. So if it comes into here, this particular one is at 73 and the top of the gap is at 74.54. Again, if it comes back into this gap, you might want to abandon ship and pull up, go look for a better entry. At this point, it appears that 75 is fine because, again, it's been kind of consolidating up in here for a minute. But if it decides it's going to drop outside of this support area, this trend line, and it starts getting too close, listen, we abandon ship. You can always close it for either break even or a small loss and go on to find you a better strike or go on to find you another stock. Right? We don't have to ride out a bad trade. It may not be bad when we entered it, but something happens, then you say, okay, well, no, this wasn't the move just yet. So let me go look again. Okay, because if you get under here, under the 68, there may not be premiums down here. It will be safer down here, but it's not going to, the premiums aren't going to be down here for Uber. All right, but Uber's been going, it's been doing its things, kind of been consolidating. Looks like it needs a bit of a catalyst to move it on. And I don't know if they've had any news or anything. Let's see what the little lightning bolt said. Anything? Usually this lightning bolt here on TradingView gives you information. There we go. Mary Meeker turns her attention to AI. Here she's investing. No, it's headlines for Uber. Uber Technologies price target maintained with the $85 per share by JMP Securities. Here's why Uber Technologies is a strong momentum stock. some little things. I'm not sure if you're on Trading View, but it does offer these little lightning bolts, and this lightning bolt gives you information. I think you can look on like Yahoo Finance and those other guys too and still find news about a stock. This ain't the only place to find that. But I do like that you're right here on the chart and you can just click it and see what's going on right there. Okay. Let's go back to I'm gonna hit Apple, then I'm gonna hit FCX. We're on Apple. Apple. Good old Apple. You know, I thought Apple was so interesting when how you gonna fire the person who started the company? How you gonna fire Steve Jobs? I know it's a while back. It's old news, it's very old news, but I just thought that was so interesting. You're gonna fire the innovator. Like, we don't need you anymore. No more. Be away with you, as they say. Away with you. Okay, so I'm looking at, let's look at it on the weekly chart first. Right, these are all, every candle is 1 week's worth of data. As I told you, it's been kind of consolidating the last 3 or 4 weeks itself. It's been kind of been down and stayed in the middle, stayed and dropped a little bit more, and a little bit of a green. This was the news from last week, but it's still, maybe it'll pick on up from here. Well, the wick came down to support about 169. Is there? It's still on an uptrend. It's just over the past. Oh goodness, we probably could look at it here. This is, you always want to take some time and pull out and look at what does the long, what does it look like? See all this? It's really, Apple's really been consolidating all of these weeks between 169. Right? It went up as high as 196, which again, that's not low, but it's about 30 points. And then it's come on back. It's come right on back down. Let's see if we could hear. This is the weekly chart I told you. Got multiple touches. It's gone up here. Ping, ping, ping. This is a double top, I guess. You can almost call it a triple top if you want to count this little dude over here. Triple top and came on back down, but now we're at a double bottom, right? Ping, ping. I wouldn't call this head and shoulders because the head is not really much higher than the shoulders, but it's kind of stayed in between this zone between 169 and 195, 197, somewhere up here. Stayed in between this zone, 169 to 199. Yep, since May of last year. Wow, since May of last year, it's been in this same zone. Looks like something may need to happen in order to break it out. But for those of you who are iron condorers, you might want to consider, if you a longer term, I don't know if you look at it from week to week, it may not pay dividends. I mean, may not pay premiums very well because this is pretty far away from current price. But if you were looking out 2 or 3 weeks or looking out a month and you were saying, okay, I want to get maybe a 200 call credit spread strike and I want to maybe go with 168, 165. I think Apple's a 2.5 spread. So if you want to get below this 169, maybe 165 or 167.5, you could do an iron condor. Again, not trading advice, just thoughts, the musings of my mind. Yes, and as Don was saying, it's not been able to get below this 168 spot. It's come down a couple times, but not really fallen below here, right? Let me stretch out this. If we look at this trend line, this is kind of what we got going with these two lines on a trend. It's kind of narrowing itself in. It's got to go somewhere. Gotta go somewhere. Maybe on up. Maybe it'll go up. Right? One to watch. Always watching Apple. Apple over the long term does seem to always go up. Though it's been consolidating here, it does. Anybody who got in anywhere back here has got more money than they had when they started. All right. Then let's look at FCX. Nope, I need FCX. FCX is Freeport McMoran. I don't know anything about this company. Does anybody on the call with me know about Freeport McMoran. I think, who was it up here? Bill, was it you? Tell me some more about Freeport McMoran. FCX. The news seems to be bad in China. So the fundamentals kind of bad, but technically it's holding support. True. That's because it's Apple. But if you're going to trade it like that, you're going to trade what you see. If you're buying, then you can dollar cost average and do all that if you're just buying shares. But if you are trading it, you definitely want to trade, you want to chart it and trade what you see. Apple's still a strong company from that standpoint. No doubt about that. FCX, let's see. I'm still on the weekly. No, I moved to the daily chart now. Daily chart, trying to get us where we can see some stuff is happening. Okay, 44.76, and we've got some more support at 43.66. Trying to see if there's some resistance up here. Doesn't seem to be any at 47.02. Oh, there we go. Back in 2022, we can see some resistance back here. I think there's a gap going right in here. Let me chart back here so we can see what was happening here. There's a gap between April the 20th and April 21st. There was a gap down. Nope, I need a rectangle. I'm not sure if y'all can see this. This is very little as far as it says very little the candles are. There we go. So if we were looking at some resistance, let me get a line. Okay, resistance is here. Got another area up here some. Let's go back to the left. There's something right in here as well, which it's coming into there. Now remember, resistance and support are interchangeable. It's called a parity point, or a place where what something is becomes something else, right? So if it could be support in one place and then the price goes below it, it becomes resistance. Or it can be resistance in one spot, the price goes through it, and if that same spot becomes support. All right. So there's a buyer seller's gap. There's a seller's gap here. Again, if we were going to put our little Fibonacci on it, might be able to provide us some zones here a little bit. Let's see. Maybe, but we do have resistance at 47.79. And then you've got the gap to get through, and then there's resistance at 50 cents some change. But we are on an upwards trend. You see that the moving averages are fanned out, right? We've got an upward trend going. There's a gap way down here. There's another little one in this zone between 45.86 and 46.21. Resistance at 47.79. If we're trading this, which it is on our our put credit spread list. I just thought about what Bill said about how the call credit spread got him. And that's what made me say call. But if we're looking at FCX, our strikes are 45.5, 46. 45.5, 46, which puts us right up in here. 46 is at the bottom of this little gap. 45.88 is this gap. Let me fill it in so that way we can see what is the reasoning behind the 46 strike. I do two things when I'm determining strikes. I look for the chart. I go to the chart first, right? I go to the chart first, but I also look to see the probability out of the money on the option chain. And I use Thinkorswim. The Thinkorswim option chain has a probability out of the money. Other option chains probably have something similar. You can also look at Delta. It's going to be something similar too, but I'm looking for Delta of less than 30 or a probability out of the money greater than 70 when I'm picking strike. That basically says that I've got a 70% chance of the trade being successful. Those are pretty decent odds. Now, 70% is not, it's not 100. So sometimes it doesn't go the way you want, but that's why if it's not doing what you want, you just, abort, abort mission. And then you go find another one. There's too many stocks. And listen, even though I'm making it sound like it's so easy to turn it off, like I'm just gonna go find. Listen, when you're in a trade and it's not going your way, everything in you, especially as a seller, everything in you will just say, "Oh, we're just gonna wait. It's probably gonna recover. It's not bad until expiration." And all these things are very true. So you have to look at the chart, look at what you're seeing to determine whether or not you want to abandon ship or not. We've got stuff that we can help you if you don't know how to chart or know how to read charts for yourself. You don't know how to read charts for yourself, you may want to consider joining up with the Options 411 6-week live coaching, 6 weeks live coaching, right? We start with the basics, terminology. What is a chart? Getting your broker opened up, or if you already have broker, how do we use our broker as sellers? We're looking at, where the buttons at? How do you learn how to do your stuff? And then we include charting, technical analysis and charting. How do we do chart? What are we looking for in a chart? People say, go and chart it or do your due diligence. What does that really mean? Right? We're going to talk about candle patterns, candlesticks. What's going on with those? What do these things mean? What do different candlestick patterns mean? Right? Trend lines, a few indicators are incorporated in our training as well. We don't get too deep on indicators because indicators are only responding to what's in the price action. So if you learn price action, you're in good shape. All right. So if you are taught price action properly, then you're in pretty good shape. You don't need to have the indicators. They do help. I'm not knocking indicators at all. Believe me when I say I'm not knocking indicators. We also are going to look at the selling strategies, put credit spreads. What I just told y'all over here, we did this whole long list of put credit spreads. If you don't have a clue how to do put credit spreads, come on, you can jump into the 6 weeks live coaching, right? And we'll look at creating yourself a trading plan, which everybody needs to have one. And maybe your trading plan is to do what somebody else says do. And that's fine for the short term. The only reason you should be taking call outs from people and from any groups is that you are learning while you're doing that, right? It's not, the call outs is not a never ending plan. That should not be your long term plan to just take call outs. Your long term plan ought to be, I'm going to be in a group that's going to teach things, and we'll have call outs, as they call them, and we will learn along the way so that at some point I will be primarily self-sufficient. Because even in the groups where there's call outs, the people generally say, go look at the chart for yourself. Go decide when you're going to enter. Decide when you're going to exit. Many times. There are some groups, I'm in a few really good ones, one really good one that they help you get in and help you get out. Or at least they tell you when to get in and when to get out. But you also have to be available for the calls when that. So otherwise you got to be on, you have to be, checking your chat and all those things regularly, or being involved in the calls. And if that doesn't lend itself to your life, then you got to do something a little bit different, which is no going in. What is my entry? What makes me enter? What makes me exit? What am I doing? Am I in? What's my strategy? What's my stop loss area? When am I going to cut the trade? At what place? Profits or losses? Many times we know how to cut it when it's going to be profits, but many times we have a hard time cutting it when it's losing, because we're definitely expecting it to come back. It's going to come back, and a lot of times they do, but a lot of times they don't. All right. If you want to join us on the Options 411 6-week live, the kickoff is going to be tomorrow night. We're kicking off tomorrow night, and you can register at Educator2Trader. If you use Easter, you can get $50 off. You can get $50 off, and then you'll hang out with me, and me and the team will educate you and get you all ready to trade as a seller and make yourself some good money. We'll use credit spreads. We'll use selling puts, and we'll talk about selling covered calls. All righty. All right. So we looked at FCX. Did we come up with our strike for FCX? I think we said 45 was our strike. Let me go back here, make sure I got us on the FCX. We said our strike was 46. There we go. It was 46. 46 is up in here, right around the bottom of this gap is where 46 is. That's why we got it there. Okay. FCX. What else did I think I saw one more? Go back to my screen and scroll through the notes. Oh, Amazon. There we go. I knew there was one more. Amazon was set for some way to pop this next coming week. Listen, we don't go into the week or the day, trading day, with a bias, but you do need to know what you're looking at and what you're looking for. We got what you're looking for. You want to be ready to see what, when you see it, what's going on. Let's go to the weekly chart on Amazon. Let's go to the weekly chart. Okay. If you're hanging out, make sure you go ahead, like and subscribe. If you feel so motivated, you can send some stickers or some super chats. If you're so motivated. Okay, we're on the weekly chart. Every candle is a week worth of data, right? Moving averages are fanned way out. Still climbing. We see the trend has been going up for a while, but definitely since October. We had took a little bit of a break here back in the beginning of January. We had a little pullback. We had a little bit of consolidation here at the end of February, but we've been going on about our way. This little doji day was Monday. Tuesday. Where'd Thursday go? Wait a minute. Oh, these are weekly charts. Oh, yeah. I'm thinking, where'd Thursday go? These are weekly. This is the week. I'm confusing myself. So this was that week of March the 11th, right? Had a little bit of a indecision, but it still went on the other way. Indecision, this little doji candle, this is something we learned in options 411, by the way. This little doji candle lets you know that there's indecision between the buyers and the sellers. We don't know if we want to keep going up or we want to go down. This is the candle you wait to see after you start to seeing what happens next, right? This is not a decision candle. This is a wait and see candle. All right. This is all the weekly Amazon. I would still roll with a put credit spread because we are still going upward, which is why Amazon is on the put credit spread list, and the strike price we have is 177.5. Now you're going to see in a minute that may feel like it's a little closer than you want it to be. That may be a little closer than you want it to be, but let's look at the daily chart now. This is our daily chart. Okay, been kind of in the middle. Finally broke on out of there. Broke past the resistance at 180. Price action went on up. It closed above it, right? Maybe an indication that it's going to try to do some more upwards moving. Current price or closing price was 180. So I was suggesting 177.5. 177.5 is underneath this support. This is 177.7, this line here. So 177.5 is below this. So you've got some support here. I see there's a support up in this area as well, in the 178 area. So that may give you, reason to be comfortable going forward with 175, 177.5. All right. Again, you always want to trade what you see. Always want to do that. Always want to do that. Okay, so we looked at, what did we look at? Devon. We looked at, I don't think we looked at Disney. Oh, I think we need to go back to Disney because I think somebody put Disney in there. We looked at FCX. We looked at Uber. We looked at Amazon. I want to look at Disney, and I'm going to look at Taiwan Semiconductors. Put myself back on the screen. You're welcome. Okay, we're looking at Disney next. I was at Disney Springs last night. Woo-wee, crowd dead. Ay, crowded. Okay, this is the daily chart. Let's look at the weekly first. Another one that's been on a nice little run. Had a little pause area back here in February, early March. Got on its horse and decided we were good to go. We're good to go. All right, let me see if I see some resistance up here. Right here where it is. The top of this candle from August goes up as high as, what's the high here? High, 126.48. This one goes as high as 126.48. I'm going to put us a line here just so I want you to know that price can go up here. Very long wick. Let you know that there was a lot of selling pressure once it tried to go. Not so fast, Missy. Okay, there was a gap back here between the 15th of August and the 22nd of August that got filled by Thursday's candle. Or I'm on the weekly chart. Oh Lord, help us. This between these 2 weeks, that gap got filled last week. All righty, now that the gap is filled, again, there's support, and this could go on up some more, which is why we got such a big green candle. Right, but it could go on up into the support, the resistance area, which is 126. It could test this area again. 126. Got something on there. But our trade is a put credit spread trade. Disney, we've got 120 as our strike. 120 is in the middle of this big old candle. We're going to switch to the daily chart so we can see what's going on or what happened. This 120 is the bottom of this candle back from the week of August the 15th. Nope, not 1 hour, 1 day. Better is 1 day in your courts. Better is 1 day in your house and thousands elsewhere. Okay, so I'm not sure why that song popped up. Probably because what made that song pop up? Anyway, so 120 is the bottom of Tuesday, the top of Tuesday's candle. We got a nice little doji sword thing looking on Wednesday. Let me make it bigger so everybody can see. This was Wednesday, and then we had a nice green on Thursday. Right? Go on up to 126. So that's why I'm using the 120 as 117 here, but I use this 120. Let me turn this to a line. Sometimes when you're not sure where there's a pause, you can see it right in here. Pause, maybe right here where this point is. It's in a real good chair. It didn't pause a long time. It kind of slid right on up some more. Let you know all this is momentum. All that is momentum. Okay. I would probably look at, I use the probability out of the money to come up with 120. I would do that or 119. This is a good area. 119 or 120 would be good. I see as good Disney areas for some support. Better is 1 day. Oh, there we go, Malcolm. Listen. Better is 1 day. Yes. It was for me. All righty. This is Taiwan Semiconductors. Now, it's been, the semiconductors following along with NVIDIA and all. They did their thing, but NVIDIA's got to come back and had to come try to grab some juice. Had to get some fuel. There was a gap here that now is filled. So this gap got filled last week. All righty, so we've got a little one up here. Got this one. This one here is almost filled too with this little doji here filled that one. Majority. Price action filled it, but I'm a fan. I believe that the body needs to fill it, but people look at it different ways. Neither way is right or wrong, I don't think. Price action here went through the whole gap from this Wednesday's candle, and then Thursday's part of the body filled it. Again, I wouldn't consider it all the way filled, but you can. You definitely can. So we're coming out of this support area, which was at 134.84 based on this candle from March the 19th, Taiwan Semiconductors. But if you look here, we've really kind of been consolidation zone. It bopped out of here and then came right back in. So we've really been right here in this zone now for a few minutes, right? Our moving averages are starting to come back together. It's starting to look like they want to come back together. You don't want to be too premature in thinking they're going to cross, but they can come together and then gain strength. But they could also be preparing to turn over, okay, to make a crossover, and that could signal more of a downwards ride. The Taiwan Semiconductor news having to do with China worried about not China worried about them getting invaded. America's worried about China invading Taiwan, because they want the technology. So these are the things you've got to keep in mind about some of these companies is they have things happening. They have things happening that sometimes cause them to have movement in their stock. Okay, I put a trend line on us. We got support here at 134. We got a trend line coming down, but we're coming right back into the support. And, maybe it'll bust out and go on about its way. Taiwan Semiconductors, what do we have for our strike? 133. We got 133 as our strike. 133 is down here. 133.50. 133 is down where my cursor is. So it's down below this gap, below these supports. It's down a bit more. Down 133 is down in here. Should be okay. But do keep in mind that it is coming, it's been coming down, but it's coming down to some support. So if you're going to trade TSM, then we want to check Monday, see if it's going our way, and then bump on up on our way. Okay. So add me back to the stage. Duh. Okay. I'm back. We have charted several stocks off this list, but you know what? I want you to look at what you like. The cruise lines, since it's summer and cruises are picking up, these cruise lines potentially offer some opportunities. The banks have continued to go on up as they have been doing. Okay. We've got, I said, the semiconductor spaces has kind of been pulling back a bit. Keep that in mind. And fuel or energy is on here, and that's going on to Disney's here, Oracle, General Motors, which is interesting that General Motors is still staying on this list. MGM is another one that we've kind of had our eyes on. Is MGM? There's some stuff going on with that and the TV, right? The deals they've got working. DoorDash, everybody DoorDashing. I know out here where I live, we live far away from most food. And honestly, the DoorDash, I don't DoorDash for the price, but I also feel like by the time the food get here, it's like, why? Why even bother? I know if you don't feel like driving to go get the food, but it's like, why even bother? Because it's going to get to you. You're going to have to heat it back up and everything along the way. Okay. I wanted to make sure that we're very clear that if you're going to go ahead and sign up for the, options 411, you want to go ahead and do that. Sign up for the options 411. I listed out all the stuff that that's included. Use Easter, HTTP, use the word Easter, Educator2. I'm putting the link in the chat. Educator2Trader.com. Use Easter as your coupon code for $50 off of the options 411 6-week coaching. Okay. It's kicking off tomorrow. We're starting tomorrow. Okay. Anything else we need to discuss? We've covered a lot. I really want you all to always know that the trading game, this is here comes my encouragement moment. The trading game is not outside of your reach. If you're just watching me and you're wondering, what is she talking about? What is this all about? The trading game is not out of your reach. It may be a new education for many of us. It was a new education for me. It was everybody who's listening or talking. It was new education for everybody. Don't let that be the thing to stop you. One of the emails I sent out a couple of days ago talked about we no longer have time to talk about I'll do it later. There is no more time for that. There's no more time for I'll do it later. Because later, no, if you're going to do it, let's do it. And it's not necessarily do it with me. Of course, I'm offering a product, but I'm offering a product because I want to be able to teach as many people as possible how to generate resources from the stock market, because there's money there to be had. And every one of us needs money. Every one of us needs money, and we want to be able to have a place. I feel like you want to be able to have a place where you can generate the amount of capital that you choose. When you go to your job, the only way you generate more capital is you work more hours. You do more work, right? So the stock market doesn't require that. It does require that you learn and that you know what you're doing, but you're not trading your hours for time with the stock market. And to trade it as a seller or a buyer, my coaching is for both sides at the beginning. The strategy, not the strategies, the foundational information is for either you're buying or selling. But the last 2 weeks, about 2 weeks, and maybe three, the last 3 weeks really talk a little bit more about the selling strategies, which they pair up very well with buying strategies. You can decide, okay, I want to use this amount of money and I'm going to buy options with it. And I'm going to use this money over here and I'm going to sell options with that. They can work together, or you can just go straight selling. Maybe you've been buying and the buying hasn't been working out so well. And you say, let me go look over here and see what these sellers are over here doing. And some folks don't even know that there is a seller side. People think all you can do is buy options. And I'm a fan of buying options, but I'm also a fan of selling them. You can sell. You're a seller, an option seller. That's what I do. I coach option sellers. All righty. So we're going to wrap up for tonight. We're going to do 2 things in this community that we always do. And that is we want to stay green and we want to get this money. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on all the social media platforms, right? If you hear information about my membership, that is always open. You can always join up with the membership and be privy to all the stuff I do. All right. And have access to me if that's what you're wanting. All right, everybody, I want y'all to have a good Sunday evening. Hope y'all didn't eat too much. If you're traveling, be careful. Smoky Joe might be out there. All right, I will see you all in the morning. In the morning, we have our call at 9:25 where we talk about pre-market stuff, getting ready for the day. All right, I will see you all later. Everybody have a really good evening. All right, goodbye, everyone.